All right, again, good to see y'all. We are going to be thinking about hard work and laziness. Keith, appreciate you being on here tonight. Appreciate that. We're going to be looking in Proverbs chapter 10, just to jump off from passage that we looked at last week. And so last week we spoke about the wise son and the shameful son and such things as that. So Proverbs chapter 10, verse 4, he who has a slack hand becomes poor, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. And then especially verse 5, he who gathers in summer is a wise son, and he who sleeps in harvest is a son who causes shame. And so I think it is pointing towards the need for hard work. And what do y'all think? It's easy to kind of sound like the old man, get off my lawn kind of guy. Do you think laziness is a bigger problem now than it has been in times past or historically? Or do you think it's just every generation says that?
Mm.
I don't know. Go ahead, Michael. Do you have any great thoughts on that?
Well, I think really by the change of each generation, different things that come into being, such as computers and cars and planes. But I think we do get lazier because we don't want to work anymore. It seems,
We
we want
we'll
everything
come
handed
we'll,
to us.
we'll come back to this, but I wonder if certain things are in place that are not enabling more laziness. We'll talk more about that at the end. But let's go ahead and get into our questions for the night. The first one wanted you to look at Proverbs chapter 12 at verse 24. The question is, what is the reward of the diligent and the lazy? So what reward do they have? Anyone look up that verse and give us a clue as to what it's talking about?
Says the diligent will rule
Well,
and the lazy will be put to forced labor.
okay, so what reward what hold on just a second. I'm going to mute myself so I can yell at something. For those of you who don't know, I have a certain kind of speaker back here off to my side that when I say the wrong thing, it starts saying, "What can I help you with?" And so it works very hard at annoying me. So anyway, pardon me. I don't know if you could hear that in my microphone or not. So anyway, so Bruce read the passage for us. So there in Proverbs 12, verse 24, the hand of the diligent will rule. So what reward does the hard worker have? What do they get? Hopefully. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, satisfaction.
Satisfaction,
Hmm.
The fruits of their labor.
the fruits of their labor.
Sure.
The hand of the diligent will rule. What does that sound like? The hand of the diligent will rule in contrast with the lazy man will be put to forced labor.
Mhm.
Sounds like the diligent will be in control.
Yeah. That the diligent hard worker, the way it should be is the hard worker gets promoted. You might also think about the hard worker gets given more authority along with that. You see that in the parables. Oh, the talents and the minas. You've been faithful over a few things. I'll give you authority over more things. So you get given more. You do have more control. You have more authority. You have promotion. You might think along those lines when Joseph was in Egypt, and there he was in Potiphar's house. And how high up did he get in Potiphar's house? Like he got high.
Way up. Yeah.
And I assume that did not happen overnight. That no, he was faithful and he was a hard worker and he proved himself trustworthy. If Joseph would have been lazy, would he have ever done that? It's like, would he have ever gotten? It's like, nope. So then he's down in the dungeon, and what happens to him in the dungeon? The same thing. All of a sudden, he's given responsibility as he proves himself to be a hard worker and faithful and trustworthy. And then, of course, he's with Pharaoh, and how high up does he get in Egypt overall? And he's real high in Egypt overall. None of that happens without God's help, but also none of it happens without him being a hard worker. If he's lazy, not going to happen. So, concerning the hand of the diligent, they will rule, right? Again, as like Nancy said, kind of the fruit of their labor. It's like, the benefit. In contrast, the lazy man, what does he get? He gets put to forced labor. What does that sound like? And that
Sounds like
starts,
I was
go
going
ahead.
to say it sounds like Samson behind the grinding stone.
Yeah, when the Philistines finally captured him
Yeah.
and they turned him into a slave. And I mean that's kind of what it sounds like. And so you start thinking about being a slave and how much control do you have over the hours that you work?
Zero.
Like, that, right? You don't have that sort of control. What sort of control do you have over how hard the task is that you're given? I mean, this is like when Israel's down in Egypt, and at first they just set taskmasters over them, and then the more things deteriorated, they made them serve with rigor, and they made it harder and harder and harder on them. You might also think about how much control you have over. Thank you for that, Sheila. I just got your message. Pat was having technical difficulties and trying to get on with her iPad. Um,
Okay.
hey,
All right.
Pat. Hey, you made it.
Sorry about the technical difficulties.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Glad you have an iPad that you're able to get on with.
Okay.
Okay, so concerning slaves, the lazy man will be put to forced labor. Do you remember when Moses and Aaron first come to Pharaoh, and the way they initially bring the subject up, they say, "We just need to take some time off effectively to go 3 days journey into the wilderness to go worship God." And what does Pharaoh say? Nope. Make the people, you stop distracting the people, get back to work. And my point is, as an application, you come to your boss. If you come to your boss and you're a hard worker and you say, you know what? I'm a hard worker. You know I'm a hard worker. The numbers show that I'm a hard worker. We need to talk about my hours. We need to talk about my pay. I would like this time off to do other things, to do something with my family or something that needs help. If you're a hard worker, what will you, if you're a hard worker, your boss will be more inclined to say yes.
Mhm.
If you're a lazy worker,
Mhm.
your boss will say, no, get back to work. And so you might think about that as an application. The benefit of hard work and the repercussions of laziness. So our second question is, what do the diligent and the lazy have at the end of the day from chapter 13, verse 4? Anyone want to read that for us? Chapter 13 at verse 4.
The soul of a lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich.
Okay. So what does the diligent man have? And I'm going to assume that it's not just appealing to greediness. I'm going to assume that. So what does the diligent man then? What does the diligent man have? Now
Security.
let's answer the other one first. What does the lazy man have?
Nothing.
He's got nothing. The soul, well, he actually does have something. What does he have? He has his desires. What he has is wishful thinking. And he's like, oh, I would like this, I would like that, I would like these things, I would like those things, I would like, I would like this. But the lazy man desires, and now, granted, at the end of the day, as far as actually having anything, what does he have? He's got nothing but those desires. And in contrast, what does the rich man, or what does the hard worker have?
Security.
He has security. He has his needs seen to. He has goods. He has goods seeing to his own needs. He probably also has goods to be able to share with others. The
Self-esteem.
self-esteem as well. The lazy man, well, the lazy man may have esteem because, and this passage is not on the paper, and I'd have to hunt for it. Oh, actually, let me go hunt for that one. Let's put our Bible program back up there, and y'all can follow me along as I hunt for it. There's a verse in Proverbs, if I could get over there. Let's see. Hold on just a second. Proverbs 26 at verse 16. The lazy man is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly. And so that's kind of the kicker about some of this stuff. How wise does the lazy man think that he is? It's like, oh, he thinks he's pretty wise. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. And it's like, no, no. And it's sad. It's sad. But in here with this, what do the diligent and the lazy have? And it's like one has nothing to show for it, and the hard worker actually has his needs seen to. Passage I wanted to look at, and this one we'll just read it together. I want to look at First Thessalonians. You can leave a marker here in Proverbs. One of the passages that talks about work is First Thessalonians chapter 4. And it points to this idea of seeing to needs. Let's see, seeing to needs and also others. This is First Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 9, talking about brotherly love and how they were taught how to live. And he says, we urge you, brethren, that you increase more and more, that you also aspire to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business and to work with your own hands, as we commanded you, that you may walk properly towards those who are outside, and that you may lack nothing. Other passages talk about sharing and such things as that. But it's like work with your own hands. It's like it's good. Even in the Garden of Eden, before sin ever entered the picture, Adam was put in the garden to tend it. Like even so, even there is work to do and to be diligent with. And of course, when sin enters the picture, then work changes by the sweat of your brow, and you have that passage. But the lazy man just wants stuff.
Right.
But he's not willing to work for it, and that's probably a key there. He's not willing to work for it. Let's go on to our third question. What is the lesson of Proverbs 13:23? Three passages there, 13:23, 19:24, and 26:15. Those are there's two of those are very similar, but there's a subtle difference, it seems like. So let's look at those together. All right, so our first one is Proverbs 13:23. Let's see, and it says, much food is in the fallow ground of the poor, and for lack of justice there is waste. All right, so that's one of them. Much food is in the fallow ground of the poor, the untilled ground of the poor. Chapter 19 at verse 24. Let me scroll down some. 1924. A lazy man buries his hand in the bowl and will not so much as bring it to his mouth again. And then the last one is very similar to that one, but there's a subtle difference. In chapter 26 at verse 15, the lazy man buries his hand in the bowl. It wearies him to bring it back to his mouth. And so that latter half is how it's different. So with this one, and it's he buries his hand in the bowl and it wearies him to bring it back to his mouth. So he's like, "Oh, it's just too much. It's too much to feed myself." And it's wow. And I mean, yeah, well, well, I can start ranting about that plenty. What people think is hard work today,
Mhm.
what would they have thought 50 years ago?
Mhm. There's no comparison.
And I mean, it's people. It's like, oh, this is just too hard. It's just too much of a burden. There's there's a movie that oh, old comedy, Pat. It was the movie that I referenced at your shindig the other night, where these two guys come back and they've been looking for jobs all day in the big city. They come back and they say, "Man, there's just nowhere to work in this town." And the other one says, "Yeah, not unless you want to work 40 hours a week." It's like, you know, for
Oh.
for some people, it's like, and I think Solomon is speaking. You would hope with exaggeration for emphasis sake. It's like it is such a burden just to lift the food up to my mouth. It's like, oh, that's just too hard. That's just too hard. I can't do that. And it's okay. So, what is the lesson of those three passages? The first one, there is much food in the fallow ground of the poor. And then the second two, the lazy man puts his hand in the bowl and he won't even bring it up to his mouth. What's the point?
You have to do something.
You got to do something.
And it's a waste in the ground if you're not using it to raise your food. If you have ground there and you're hungry, you can raise your food.
And so Pat, I think we're on the same page. I'm just phrasing it a little differently in my mind. So the ground is there, and the ground gives you an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're talking about, it's a wasted opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And that most people have plentiful opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying necessarily everybody, but the vast, vast, vast majority of people
Mm-hmm.
have have opportunities given to them. The diligent man sees those opportunities and takes advantage of them. The lazy man says, "Oh, you want me to go out and till up the ground and plant a garden? Ah, that is very wearisome. That's hard. That's hard. Go ahead, Michael."
Yeah, it's almost like you look at like the lazy. Okay, like you got the diligent man, but then you get the lazy. Lazy almost like they want someone else to do it for them. They
Sure.
want someone else to feed them.
Yep. Yep.
You know.
We'll talk more about that here in a second. Yep, very much so. Um, and so it's just I was just thinking about how wonderful it is that you do have opportunities, and that I think that probably points to the blessings of the Lord. What does the Lord send on the just and the unjust? He sends the rain and the
Rain.
sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
When Paul is speaking to I can't remember if it was which group it was. It wasn't Athens, but he talked about how God did not leave them without witness, and that He sent the seasons and the fruitfulness and all of those things, and that the Lord blesses us, but the Lord does expect us to work, even with the manna. The manna that came from heaven.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord could have, and you this isn't even sarcasm. You remember when the Lord is feeding the 5,000 and the little boy has the lunch. I don't know exactly how that miracle played out as far as like what receptacle, what sort of container, what sort of basket the bread and the fish were in. I don't, if the apostles just every time they reached in, more kept coming out. I don't know. But they did not have to go out and pick up the bread and the fish off the ground. The Lord, when he did the manna, when the manna came from heaven, the Lord could have deposited that manna in every individual's tent. He could have done that very easily. He doesn't. It's out on the ground, and what do they got to do? You got to go pick it up. You have to go distribute it. You have to go share it. Everyone as everyone had need. And so they had to do that, and they had to obey. And of course, some of them didn't obey, but that's another story. Um, but a part of all this is in thinking about diligence, not just seeing to our needs, but you might also think about our family's needs. Um, One of the things we spoke about last week was the relationship between children and parents. And so this is how we think about our family's needs, spouse, children, parents, other relations as well was brought up last week. And so it's the benefit of diligence and you have those opportunities. Now, James does talk about, Pat's garden that she's planting.
And
What
I
do,
am not a gardener.
what does every gardener or farmer have to have according to James? What does the farmer wait for?
Patience.
Yep.
Early rain and late rain.
The early and the latter rains, every farmer has to have patience. Doesn't happen overnight. So that's one reason, our original proverb that spoke there in chapter 10, where it says, he who gathers in summer is a wise son, he who sleeps in harvest is a son who causes shame. A farmer, it's like there's work to do in the winter, there's work to do in the spring, there's work to do in the fall, and it's like you're building up to harvest. But you don't wait till the fall to plant your seed. If you do that, it's not going to work. You you have to have patience and you have to have diligence. What questions or comments y'all have? Any points you want to make? I think just yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say a lot of this is bound up in, Max Weber was a German sociologist and had a Protestant work ethic, and the seeds of capitalism were bound up in that. So I think, it's like when the Pilgrims came over and the Puritans, they did have this work ethic, and that helped found the country. And the same thing with these pioneers. When you read some of the stuff they did, I mean, they were such hardy people, hardworking people, and they had to be. And, it
Yeah.
helped lay the foundation of the country. So,
Just
Lo
to
and behold,
survive.
necessity is the mother of invention.
Mm.
And it's like you have to be. We'll come back to that again. We'll get there eventually. Where we were at in Acts 2 in this morning's adult Bible class. And anyone who, as it says there in that passage, those who sold things, and they distributed as anyone had need. So there were those who had more, there were those who had less. All who believed were together and had all things in common and sold their possessions and goods and divided them among all as anyone had need. What if nobody had any possessions and nobody had any goods? Right? What if what if what if nobody was what if nobody had worked hard?
You're going to be hungry.
It's like there's going to be a lot of hungry people. And when the oh let me look. Seems like there's a proverb about this as well. Let me pull this up. And there a proverb that talks about I'm only halfway remembering it. Let's see if yeah. Proverbs 30 at verse 15. The leech has two daughters, give and give. And then there are three things that are never satisfied, four that never say enough. And it goes on and talks about those things. But what I was thinking was when everybody's a leech, eventually the blood runs dry.
Mhm.
And so anyway, to think about workers and those who are not willing to work. And again, that's my point with the third question. There's opportunity in the fallow ground of the poor. There's opportunity. It's not a question of can you, it's a question of will you, right? That's the question. Are you willing to work hard? Okay, let's go on to our fourth question. What are the lazy good at making? And I didn't have any verses for that. So what answers do you have? What are the lazy good at making? They're good at making some
Excuses.
things.
Excuses.
They are real good at making excuses. And so we'll look at some of these well, let me get back over here. Let's see. All right, we'll look at chapter 20 at verse 4. The lazy man will not plow because of winter. He will beg during harvest and have nothing. Well, why does he not plow because of winter?
You'll get
Because
cold.
in wintertime it's cold. And what is the ground?
Frozen.
Hard sometimes.
It's hard. Like this is hard and it's cold. I don't want to plow in wintertime. And so he uses those things as an excuse. Chapter 22 at verse 13, the lazy man says, "Oh, there's a lion outside. I shall be slain in the streets." And it sounds like an excuse. Now, it
Sounds like
sounds
a
on a
good one.
what, Pat?
That one sounds like a good one to
And
me.
that's the thing. If there is a lion outside, what do you need to do?
Kill it or
Kill
run
it.
it off.
I mean, that's what David says when David, comes up to the battlefront before Goliath, and Saul says, who do you think you are? And he's like, listen, I'm a shepherd, and whenever a lion or a bear came against the flock, I grabbed him, I took care of him. It's gonna take work. So either there really is a lion outside, or the lazy man is saying effectively, there may be a lion outside.
Hmm.
And he's just looking for an excuse. Like, oh, and I think really what it is, the lazy man says, oh, something bad might happen. Something bad might happen, so I'm just not going to go out. And you shouldn't live your life like that. Chapter 26 at verse 13, again, the lazy man says, there's a lion in the road, a fierce lion is in the streets. Verse 14, as a door turns on its hinges, so does the lazy man on his bed. The bottom line is it's easier to stay home, it's easier to sleep in. I really like verse 14 because it's a very vivid image. As a door turns on its hinges, so the lazy man on his bed. And he just turns back and forth. And then again, verse 15, and then verse 16. All of these are here. And so, along with some other verses that pop up elsewhere, the dog returning to his own vomit is the same passage. But the lazy are real good about making excuses. They're real good about that. What else? Anyone have anything else that the lazy make? Probably excuses, probably justification, right? Justifying their lack of hard work. Go ahead, Pat.
I was watching a thing on Facebook a few days ago, and there was this reporter that was interviewing this young lady, and she was probably it looked like her mid-20s maybe. And she was belly aching and crying because she was losing her food stamps. She goes, I'm going to starve. What am I going to eat? He said, what does this mean for you? She goes, I have to get a job.
Yeah. So okay, so that brings me. Anyone have any other thoughts on what the lazy make? And so the last question I had, it's not on the paper. So why do you think laziness is such a problem? Why do you think laziness is such a problem? And where I'm going with this is, some of the things that y'all have mentioned, that Mark mentioned, when people came to this country to begin with, and they had to work hard. Well, why did they have to work so hard? What did they not have?
support.
Machines?
Okay,
They
they
didn't
didn't
have
have
welfare.
machines. They didn't have support. What'd you just say, Pat?
Welfare.
They didn't have welfare. They didn't have government programs.
They
They
didn't
didn't
have
have,
machines.
yeah, didn't have machines. All those things. And I was especially thinking about how do you think the government, and I think it's obvious, the government enables laziness.
Hmm. Sure.
Now, why would the government enable laziness? And now I really am going to start ranting. Why would the government do that?
Get votes.
To get votes. And that goes back a long ways. There's a phrase in Roman times.
Let them eat cake.
Rome was before let them eat cake. And the phrase was bread and circuses. And the idea was you just give people free food and entertain them, and they'll keep you in power for a long time. And that was in Roman times. There's a Roman poet who wrote about that.
Mhm.
Um, Not much has changed, but it's like if you can enable people, if you can get people, or if you can effectively communicate to people, they don't have to work. If you'll vote me in, you won't have to work. Whew, that's going to be a hard person to get out of office.
Mhm.
And so I do think government enables laziness. Do parents enable laziness?
Mhm.
Of course.
Good. Sure.
And
Sometimes.
do what, Pat?
Sometimes. Not always, but sometimes.
So how could parents enable laziness? And why would parents enable laziness? How does that happen? Go ahead, Michael. Bruce, we'll come
Well,
back to you here in a second.
kids, when you tell them to do something, they whine. They don't want to do it. And so, of course, the parents end up having to do it because the kids won't do it.
Yeah. Bruce, you remember us talking one time about the ducks? Or no, it wasn't the ducks, it was the birds. Those certain sorts of birds and what they do with their youngsters.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What do they do?
Like, the wood ducks have their nests up in holes in the trees, maybe 20, 30 foot up in the tree. And when they're big enough to start flying, the parents actually kick them out of the nest, and they come down, and you've probably seen it on nature programs where
Yeah,
it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
The little the little duck falls in the leaves, and they eventually learn they gotta fly.
they gotta fly. And what are parents anymore more and more unwilling to do?
Make them
Let them
fly.
go.
It's like make them fly.
Mhm.
Teach them to fly. Necessity is the mother of invention. It's like you got to get out, you got to find your own way. It's like, oh, but can't I just live in your basement and play video games until I'm 40? No, no. And so governments enable laziness, but anymore parents can enable laziness too. Um, and I think I may have shared this. I can't remember if I shared it on here. Oh, let me look at her time. I don't have time to go into it. I was talking to that electrician who came to the building, and he was talking about how he's having so much trouble finding help because
Mhm.
anymore, even those who do apply, he says he's having to teach them everything. He's having to teach them the difference between a slotted screwdriver and a Phillips head screwdriver. He said 20 years ago, at least people had basic knowledge. And anymore, they're
Mhm.
not even getting basic
Mhm.
knowledge. They've spent their entire teenage years playing games and not
Mhm.
working. And so they don't know how to work. And a lot of it, I think, is parents, and I'll include myself there as well. You know, some of it here in the last minute and a half, you might also think about anymore, and maybe it's always been this way again. necessity. And by the way, there's proverbs that talk about that, about how a man's hunger will drive him. You let a man go hungry, oh, and all of a sudden, oh, I've got to work. And all of a sudden he finds initiative. And that's the thing. All of a sudden he finds initiative. And what is it that's in short supply anymore? Initiative. Initiative, ambition,
Mm-hmm.
good way. Just that idea of working and wanting to work hard for your own needs, for your family's needs, and to share with others. We're out of time. Got about 30 seconds left. Anyone have a last thought? All right. Appreciate y'all being on here this evening as we think about
Thank
hard
you,
work.
John.
Thank
Hard
you.
work, and again, make spiritual applications, working hard in the kingdom as
How's
well.
Crash doing? I just saw her.
Who?
Crash.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing.
All right. Appreciate y'all. Y'all take
All
care.
right. Bye-bye.
No.
Thanks, John.
All right. See y'all.
Thanks.
Mhm.